It's Katie here with Life the Mundane, and today I'm going to come talk to you about how to do nature journaling and teach your kids about nature when nature is not your thing. So like I said before, I am not an outdoorsy girl. I never have been. Even as a child, I hated snow. I didn't like to be too hot or too cold. And so that's been a challenge for me. There are tons of studies out there and great articles about the importance of being out in nature and how much children can learn from being outside. And I think that that's fantastic. And I agree completely that there are lots of great learning experiences there for them to pick up on. But what do you do when it's just not natural? It's just not who you are. So let's get started with a few tips and tricks that I have learned that I can hopefully share with you. So I think the first thing is to set aside all of these unspoken expectations, or maybe they are spoken expectations. These articles out there, or maybe Charlotte Mason's philosophy of how many hours you should spend outside. Set all of those aside and truly assess where you are. Are you already going outside at least once a day? We don't. How often do you go outside? What do you do while you're outside? How long do you typically stay outside? These are things that are really helpful to understand. Be brutally honest. Just write it down and kind of get an idea of where you're at. Then set small, attainable goals to get to where you want to be. Now, I will say, I will never, ever be one of those people that spends 8 hours outside every day. It's just not going to happen, and that's okay. But I do want my kids to have more time and more experiences outside. So how can I make the most of those moments is probably what's important to me more than the frequency, but maybe it's the frequency to you. So set a goal, an overall goal, and then set small attainable goals. Another way to kind of get more opportunities to be outside and enjoy nature is to simply take school outside. So one of the things I do enjoy doing, even though I'm not a big outdoorsy girl, is I do enjoy taking read-alouds outside. So we'll oftentimes, especially with our science, take our science outside and enjoy it because we're learning about birds in particular this year and all flying creatures. So it's fun to go outside and see what kind of birds we can observe. So another thing that helped me was learning to make outside time social. So meet up with a friend at a local park, go with your neighbor, take walks around the neighborhood, and get to talk to people as you go. Making it a family activity that you do together helps, for me at least, it helps to make being outside a little bit more fun. When I sat down to finally assess where I was at and how often we were outside and how we were using that time and where I wanted to be, I realized that oftentimes the problem is because I don't naturally enjoy being outdoors or spending a lot of time outdoors, I figured out why I oftentimes struggle with that or what the problem is that I could solve to help make it an easier transition. So it may not be the same for you, but for me, it is that being outside is not productive. And I know that sounds silly to most people, but if you have my kind of personality and you already feel like you're a super busy mom and you have this big laundry list of things to do, it can feel like a waste of time. I know in my head it's not, and that it's good for my kids and it's good to be out in God's creation. But being honest with you, it can feel like a waste of time. I've learned that if I need to be productive, I just need to think differently. So being outside and doing school outside, like I talked about a minute ago, that's one of the ways I can be productive outside and still have that outside time. Another way that we have learned to be productive is by nature journaling. Now, let me set the groundwork for what I'm talking about. Again, you have to remember, I'm not a nature person. I'm also not a huge art person. My kids are, but I'm not. So I'm sure you've seen these elaborate nature journals and fancy, extravagant projects on Pinterest, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm going to show you guys my nature journal for my children and kind of show you what we do and how we make it work. You can definitely go fancier than this, but for those moms who feel like they're drowning out there and just want to do something while they're outside, this is a great compromise between. So ours is really simple. It is a sketchbook from Walmart. It's like $3, I think. It's got a little pocket in the front, so I slid a fancy little printed out cover in it for a nature journal. And this is what you get. It's a sketchbook. So sometimes we use it in varying different ways. So sometimes we will go outside, or maybe go to, we have a nature center nearby, and we'll go there and we'll take a walk, and I'll just tell the kids, hey, let me know when you want to stop, and we'll stop, and you can sketch what you see. It was really a neat experience to do with them, and to get to see their world, to get to see the world through their eyes and through their perspective. So this is my daughter's. I don't know if you can tell, but basically we saw a turtle on our path. She found a really neat flower that was of interest to her, and she drew a lake where the trees were hanging over and the tall grass. This is as simple as it has to be. It doesn't have to be super complicated. Notice we did not label anything, we did not write anything, but she just spent the time to take and look at that detail. And I think that that's, to me, I guess, the important part is for them to take time to smell the roses, for lack of a better term, and to be able to enjoy that creation and to slow down a little bit. So to have them go and sketch what they see is a great opportunity. Another thing you can do that with that is to label those things. So she also saw a bird while we were there, so she did her best to draw this bird, and he had long legs and a long neck. And then when we were walking through the nature center, we saw a board that showed some of the same kinds of birds that you would see out there, and she realized that this bird was a great egret. So she wrote that down, she copied it off the board, and we read a few facts about it. Again, super, super simple, but an easy way to get them engaged in learning without a lot of prep work ahead of time. Another thing you can do is scavenger hunts. So sometimes I will either handwrite in their nature journals, or more often than not, I will find one online and I will print it out and I'll just tape it in their journal and I'll find some kind of scavenger hunt. There's all sorts of fun ones. I'll try to link some below, but there's some fall scavenger hunts or different seasonal scavenger hunts. There's just general ones that you can always find, and it might be find a leaf, find a twig, find a spider's web, find a flower, whatever it might be. And it's up to your discretion, obviously, depending on what it is, whether it's something they're actually going to be collecting, whether it's something they're going to be sketching and drawing, or whether it's something they're simply just going to check off that they found and they saw it. Another thing that has been super helpful for me, and I do not remember where I got this tip, otherwise I would love to give credit, but one thing that has been super helpful is just to tell my kids to flip to a page and say, while we're outside today, I want you to draw or write or discuss the five senses. So tell me what you see, what you smell, what you hear, what you taste, what you feel. I guess all I have to say is it doesn't have to be super complicated. It doesn't have to be super artsy or fantastic or all these bright colored pencils. It definitely can. And I think one day, because my kids are so artsy, they probably will just do that on their own naturally. But I think that having some ideas of what to do while you're outside is helpful for it, and it helps our kids too, who maybe are more naturally to go outside and be like, I'm bored, I don't know what to do. Obviously, there is still time outside for just free play and to enjoy and use your imagination, to build forts and play tag and have PE and recreation time. But I'm talking more about how to take captive those moments for these educational experiences. So keep pressing on. For the mom who is not all about being outside, you are doing a great job. The fact that you even care that you want to get your kids outside is a good job. And set aside other people's expectations. Look at those small attainable goals and just work towards it. I hope this has been helpful. I'd love to hear what you guys do. How do you experience and enjoy nature, especially when you're not a nature kind of person? Drop that in the comments. If this video has been helpful, like and give it a share. I'd love if you would subscribe to my channel. I post new videos every Wednesday and Saturday on making the most of the little moments in home management, homeschooling, and parenting, and everything in between. I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.